welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on Real Estate Mogul MD. Appreciate your time giving us a listen, whether you're walking through the aisles of the hospital or the corridors of an office building, or even just out on a jog. We appreciate your time. Today, our guest has practiced a plant-based diet for numerous years and strives to incorporate her lifestyle into educating her patients in how to improve and overcome their chronic diseases as a family physician and as a physician health coach. Please welcome the founder of Essence of Health, Dr. Shayla Toombs-Withers. Welcome to the show. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
It's awesome. So exciting. I'm excited to get into the conversations. I always love the opportunity to have your time and your attention with every single guest that comes on. And as I do a little bit of research, I'm always like, oh, I want to ask this. I want to ask this. I want to ask this. So I'm excited to jump into it. So physician, health coach, and family physician. And the thing that sticks out to me the most, I'm excited to learn about, is the plant-based natural side of food. And I'm just thinking to myself, on all of these things, where am I going wrong? And how is that affecting me? But so many, not wrong, but they're just the choices that I've used, right? So if you could, Shayla, tell us just a little bit about your medical journey so far.
Yeah. So like you said, I am board certified in family medicine, also certified in obesity medicine, and then I have a certificate of plant-based nutrition. And so really it all started with myself. When I was even in college, I started noticing I was getting this debilitating abdominal pain where, after I eat, I just be like doubled over and in pain. And so I went to see my own doctor, which led me to seeing a gastroenterologist. They did the full $1 million workup, all the things. And thankfully, nothing was wrong. All the tests and everything and labs, that stuff came back normal. But after that, then the gastroenterologist, he said, well, let's just try you on an elimination diet and see if it's actually, maybe something that you're eating that's triggering it. And so the first thing he told me to eliminate was dairy, because he mentioned, he was African-American, and he mentioned, lactose intolerance is prominent within African Americans. He said, so let's just try, with you eliminating dairy for just a couple of weeks and see how you feel. And so I did. It was hard. I'm in the South. And I grew up, with the creamiest mac and cheese and, those things. And so, but I did it for those couple of weeks, and I noticed I felt so much better. I didn't get any of that same kind of pain that I was getting. And then when I stopped it, because I also loved ice cream. So then when I stopped it and then I would eat those things again, I was like, oh. So yeah, this is definitely the culprit. And so that was the start of it. And then, the more going through like medical school and then just learning more, reading more, and noticing how I felt with certain food. And that's what really led me down that plant-based path for myself. And then just the more I learned about medicine and chronic diseases, and it led me more to even talk about those things with my patients and promote that, within a sustainable way of preventing and reversing disease for my patients. Very
interesting. And I'm sure that I checked out the ebook. I downloaded that. I love it. I'm picking through there. And I noticed that you have some pictures in there of yourself and running with some numbers on you. And that to me says that's a lot of running if you've got a number on you. So are you running 5Ks, 10Ks, halves? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, so yeah. So as part of my improving my own health. So I'll start off by saying I was never a runner. I was that kid where if you told me to run a lap in PE, I would whine about it. I was like, no. But after, I started eating more plant-based, I had my first kid. I said, I want to be healthy. And so I did. I did the Couch to 5K program first. And I fell in love with it after that, and went on to do the pictures that are in that book are actually from me doing the Disney half marathon And I've gone on to do several full marathons and even triathlon, up to doing a
Wow.
full Ironman triathlon in 2019. So it's taken me places,
Wow.
just, changing my
That's cool.
diet.
Well, congratulations on that. And the
Thank
diet
you.
definitely has to play a piece in that because no
Yeah.
matter who you are, what you're doing, I mean, that's just difficult stuff, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely, a challenge to our bodies. And so, yeah, we have to fuel properly.
I also see some kiddos in there on that in the ebook. Are those your kiddos?
Those are my sleeping babies.
Oh yeah.
They're not that little anymore, but yeah. So I have three boys. They're
Wow.
now 13, 9, and 6.
Yeah.
And like I said, the oldest, he was my residency baby. I had him my last year of residency, and I remember those late nights in the call room nursing him and those things. And that was what propelled me to take better care of myself too.
Residency baby. I get to speak with a lot of physicians here on the show. This one's the first topic here, and it's just one of those things that I just don't even think about. We always talk about how difficult time and money and all of this stuff is, but now you are Shayla, the mom in residency, and I can only imagine because I have two small, just same way. I mean, they're 8 and 10 now too. They're still small, but
right.
that first year is, and my wife was the absolute angel pulling that weight. And I'm sure you had that same thing. So
yeah. My husband was amazing because he would come and, I would pump milk in between rounds and he'd come pick up the pump milk. He'd bring the baby, let me nurse the baby while I was doing overnight call, and then they go home. And so, it's crazy to think about it now, but we did it.
Yeah. So how challenging it is for everybody, but then to add motherhood through that. So that's got to be even more challenging. And it just makes everything else seems a little bit easier than after those conversations. What was it about becoming a doctor that really stood out to you? Like what triggered your heart in order to take action,
Yeah, really just from my family. So, seeing those health conditions that like my grandparents suffered through and wanting to know more and be able to help more. I also have a passion for underserved communities of color and those just underserved communities, and just wanting to be able to provide care and more help in that realm. I always recall to even wanting to be a family doctor. My third year medical school rotation. So I'm an osteopathic physician. And so we were required to do a rural medicine rotation. And this rural family doctor, he was a solo doctor. The closest hospital was 2 hours away. So he really did a little bit of everything, he was everything to this community. And just seeing the way he practiced and how he related to the families and to the people that he served, that really wanted to make me, become a family doctor too. And even just propel that passion too for medicine and wanted to treat people. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's I couldn't imagine. I mean, 2 hours away from the hospital. That's
right.
A long way. Do you travel? Do you get to travel?
I do.
Do you go into any fun places that's kind of scary about how far they are away from everything else? Like Jamaica, when my daughter got injured when we were in Jamaica, and it's like, oh no, what do we do? Have you had any instances like that?
I have, I will say I'm also a very outdoorsy person. So, I love hiking, camping, being in the woods, that kind of stuff. And so, things are bound to happen at those times. Thankfully, there's never been anything where, I needed a helicopter to come, save me or anything. But those minor injuries that you get at those times. And even with traveling with my kids, I've got a similar story where we were in the Bahamas once and one of my kids, they were a toddler at the time and kind of, they take off running from you, or they tripped and fell on concrete, bust their head. And, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I need to take them to the Bahamian hospital, wherever that was, and figure that out. Thankfully, being Dr. Mom, I was able to assess them and say, okay, well, we're just going to watch it and they're fine. But yeah, between that, those things come up, and between me liking to be outdoors and and not running into anything myself when I do go out for things. I keep the full first aid kit and probably more meds than just your typical backpacker would have. But no, yeah.
That's cool. In that instance where my daughter had fallen off the bed and everything was tile and, granite, hard surface and all of that. And she had hit her head and split her head open. And we're, in Jamaica, and we're in the resort, and it was chaotic. The nurse on staff didn't really speak great English, so it was difficult to understand. Luckily, as I was running her through the hotel, she's bleeding, I'm holding her, it's the middle of the night. 2 physicians, actual ER physicians from the States, saw me carrying her through the resort and, followed me. And, that was comforting. And it's just one of those things, again, where I get asked a lot of times, why do you work with physicians specifically? Because I'm not a physician. And it's just one of those moments where it's easy for me. Well, I've been helped so much. Your dedication, your passion has allowed me to do the things that I want to do and build and keep the family safe that I have. So thank you for that. Your passion and commitment.
No, and that was great that you did, that those docs were there, and able to help, because that is scary, especially when it's your kid. And you're seeing all this blood. You're not even thinking at your clearest head yourself at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Being in the middle of the night. And that was one of my challenges. So far in your career, what's been the biggest challenge for you? And what did you learn from it when you did overcome it,
Yeah. So being a small business owner, really, because, is that thing that's not taught in medical school. So, we're taught about medicine, and we're taught about, how to treat people. And I'm really good at, knowing what test to order you and writing you a prescription. But we are not taught how to have a small business and how to even promote or market ourselves as doctors, especially because so much of what we do is more altruistic in nature, and we don't really promote ourselves. And so, that I would say has been the biggest challenge.
I do want to dig in on this a little bit, because I hear this a lot. And I just instantly think, why? Right. So I'm going back to my college career, my education career, right? Much simpler than yours. But looking back at that, I know I had some gen eds. I know I had some basically filler classes. So why, Shayla, why wouldn't we take those out and put in business management, put in, these simple things, LLC structures, cash flow,
it would be great, but I will tell you, even for doctors, even at the undergraduate level, we don't even have time or space within the undergraduate curriculum to even get a basic accounting class or a basic, type of business 101 or whatever that looks like. Because most of us tend to be science majors, like myself. I majored in biology and chemistry. And so your schedule is still packed with those type of courses and courses that, are designed to get you into medical school. And then when you get into medical school, it's, just heavily packed with science. And so it just doesn't leave any room for that. I wish it did. And, you have a point to where even at some point, I could easily see it could easily be added even at the undergraduate level within those, folks who are pre-med or science majors, some of that, but, it would take somebody larger than I in terms of on a board somewhere to make that happen. Right.
You're right.
Yeah. But it would be great to have that knowledge.
Hear it so much. The listeners have to hear this over and over and again as we talk about this too. And one of the things leading to the next question on the investment side, even after that, the money, but just aside from the money piece is the business side, the entrepreneur piece. Now, granted, no, I also had a couple of conversations lately too, about this shift, this trend in medicine going corporate. So you're more of the W-2 based as opposed to an entrepreneur. And I guess that's an opportunity for corporate based. And if there are any other listeners out there that are listening, I would love to speak with you on that piece of it, because that's a driving factor, and it's beginning to come up more and more and more as physicians like yourself, Shayla, are limited on their ability to learn, their energy to learn the entrepreneur side. And then we have these discussions of, okay, which is better? Can I focus on my passion or my skill or my trade and not have to focus on the business? Or is it better to focus as an entrepreneur where I can be in my lane and manage everything?
Yeah. Well, it's going two ways. So yeah, you're right that, we're seeing more corporate entities just take over and then the doctor just becomes the employee, if you will. But we've also seen over, I would say even, definitely within my career, I've been practicing for about 13 years now. And we've seen even just over the past 5, the shift to where more of us physicians are wanting to be the employer instead of the employee. And we are opening our own practices. My practice is a cash-based direct primary care type of practice. And even just this, it's more so called a movement right now because it's the shift where doctors have, pretty much said, well, we're going to take the middleman out, who is the insurer, and we're going to, take charge of managing the patient without that middleman. And that way we're able to kind of cut through more of the red tape of how we're able to treat our patient and the things we're able to do for our patient and run our own businesses that way. So it simplifies some of the parts of business, but there's still that learning curve with the marketing and the setup and, all of those things for a business person. Thankfully, my husband is an MBA, so he knew those basics for me. But even just those little things, because I would ask him, he was like, you don't know this? I mean, that stuff is probably like business 101. And I'm like, no, we didn't know any of this. So,
interesting. Yeah. So you said cash based. So that's, I apologize. That's new for me, this instance here. So cash based versus insurance based. So is it two different worlds? So in traditional model, you have your insurance plan, whatever it is, and then you pay your copay to go see like your family doctor. You pay your copay, whatever is on your card, and then they bill the rest to your insurance. Then after that, you may still get a bill for whatever your insurance, decided, we didn't cover this portion or that portion or what have you. So you get that bill afterwards that you still owe. Versus in this model with direct primary care, we don't bill the insurance at all. So we don't, we're not even on your plan. But we charge a monthly fee for our services. So you would pay me directly, sort of like having me on retainer for you. Mm-hmm. You would pay me directly month to month. And then when you needed to come in, you come in. If we needed to do a video visit, we do that. There's no additional fees for those different types versus like if your insurance, if you, did this or that, then you pay for each thing. And then on the cash-based side, you could still use your insurance for those things that are outside of the realm of the direct fee for your doctor. So if you had a medicine prescribed or if you needed a CT scan, those things, then your insurance would be billed for those parts because those are billed separately through whatever the lab or through the imaging center or the hospital, what have you. But in the realm of what happens, like in my office, all of those things are covered by just your cash fee. Very interesting. And this could be one of those courses inside of that Dr. Business 101 thing. It's like introduction, making that decision. How soon did you have to make that decision into your business, into your practice to go cash-based? Or did you start insurance and then?
Nope. I started my practice cash-based. So over the course of my career, I've worked as an employee in a number of capacities. I started out being attending at a residency program where I taught other physicians, up to being a medical director for a different clinic, and then just traditional outpatient at a hospital-owned practice. So I did a number of different types of work. And what I really discovered, though, was a couple of things. One, I wanted to spend more time with my patients. Two, I wanted to provide that more holistic level of care, like we talked about, incorporating plant-based nutrition, incorporating movement. I incorporate, sleep and talking about all of these things on a deeper level beyond just the traditional component of medicine. But your insurance company won't pay me for those things. Your insurance company is not going to pay me to spend an hour to talk to you. And so that's why when I, wanted to do this deeper level of care, I knew that it had to be more of a cash-based level, because I had been through an insurance-based practice through that hospital loan practice where everything has to be rush because they're only going to pay you for about a 15-minute session, versus.
Yeah. Interesting. And then, so as an entrepreneur, so you came through as a W-2, which you have in these other practices, you have probably opportunities for 401ks, 403bs, all these different three numbers and a letter scenarios, kind of set it and forget it for most people on the investment side. What types of investments did you have, and did those investments change when you became your own thing, your own entrepreneur, you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah. And that's another side that's not often talked about in medicine. The thing about it is most doctors, most of us, have just been in school for all these 10, or so years.
Education career.
Sudden, right, exactly. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you come out and you get this real paycheck. And you're like, oh, and you get introduced to this thing called benefits that you've never heard of because you never really had a real job for, a large portion of your life. And so, even starting out, I remember starting out as, a new baby doc, if you will, and kind of getting these first set of benefits. I didn't know what they were really. They tell you see the HR person and, they tell you this stuff. But once again, we aren't educated on that side of things and what business and investments and those things look like. Thankfully, like I said, my husband, he's an MBA and he knew those kinds of things to set up for us. But yeah, so I did. I had the retirement plans and we've had the 529 set up for the kids. But since going more into an entrepreneurship role, and I still do feed into those retirement plans, but one thing I found myself investing more in is stocks and more long-term planning and within the stock market for investments.
Interesting. And then your LLC, the entrepreneur side of it, your business, and stop me if the questions get too deep. My mind's business.
Yeah. No, my business is an LLC.
That nobody else talks about. I'm just kind of like drilling into them now. So it's an LLC. Do you have an S-elect? Is it taxed as an S corp?
I have not made that choice just yet.
So in that situation, my mind goes back to, okay, you were doing the 401k and stuff before. So the interesting piece of that, I'm not, just a shout out to everybody, I'm not a certified public accountant. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm none of this stuff. This is just the stuff that I've done and I've seen others do around me. As an S-elect, you are a W-2 employee of your own business. And that allows you to take advantage of different scenarios. And one of those is the solo K. And that's a very interesting platform that might want to look into a little bit in the way that you can do that. And it depends on the number of employees that you have within the company. So there are some stipulations in here, but it may be that way where you can take that money pre-tax and grow it. Similar to what you were doing prior to. So interesting.
Okay, good to know. Interesting. You said it's called a solo K? Because
Solo K, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the solo K. And the other thing I love about solo K is you can actually self-direct it too. So there's large amounts. And I believe for a married couple, it can be up over $100,000 a year. Obviously, you have to make that and be able to set it aside in your retirement. But you can then self-direct it and invest it into real estate. And the difference maker in this is when you can leverage a non-recourse loan. Say I buy a house for $100,000. And yes, that's possible. And some people that listen to us all over the United States, like, where do you buy that at? Well, it's possible, right? A house for $100,000. And then I get a 50% non-recourse loan. I pull back 50% of my money. So I only have $50,000 in this property. With this type of structure, you can do that. And when you're buying stocks, you can't put $100,000 into stocks and then borrow $50,000 back out of it and still perform, right? So it's just, it gets complicated, kind of like getting it down. But once it's down, once it's created, it's the way that you can increase your return is massive.
And you create it under your S corp?
So the S corp is what funds the 401 or the solo K, right? And that that solo K in itself becomes a self-direct. So you have a custodian where you can self-direct that. That
then you do.
solo
Okay.
K then funds the LLC. And like in my case, I have a Roth. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I have a Roth IRA, and that Roth is with a custodian who funds my Roth IRA LLC, and I have checkbook control over my Roth. The difference of that pre-tax versus already taxed money, obviously the solo K and the Roth. But in my Roth, as a real estate investor, I've bought and sold houses with it. I have Airbnbs in it, and there are just ways that I can. I have not leveraged the non-recourse. I've got an Airbnb right now that I'm going to leverage the non-recourse. So I will keep everybody filled in on that.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you're following all the regulations to not trigger any taxable event. That's the main part. So lots of stuff in there. But do you guys? I could go on for hours on that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's interesting though. Yeah, for sure.
Do you?
I'm gonna even have to listen to the playback so I can take my own.
What were you talking about? Yeah. But if anybody out there has any, we can follow up on that too. If anybody has any questions on that, info@physicianwealthsystems.com, and email in, we can send stuff out. And I'll even refer out some of the custodians, the top 3 or 4 custodians that we use. How I met physicians as a fix and flipper, right? You've seen the shows Chip and JoJo and Flip This House and all that.
I love HGTV.
Yeah, that was it. We were rolling like that. But we connected with physicians as lenders. Like they would lend us private money. And that's where we connected. The Chip and JoJo and HGTV, lost my train of thought. Got chip on my mind. That's where we connected with physicians. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that flip idea. Apologize.
Your real estate investment, because you were talking about that.
Yeah. We were flipping. Boy, that's a first. That one it triggers back. My diet today may have triggered this, right? So it wasn't plant-based. There was dairy in it for sure. So I'm coming back to the ebook on that one. They were lending us money as fix and flippers. And that's how we got into relationships with physicians as debt lenders. And as we're rolling on now, we also work with physicians acquiring real estate. Do you and your husband, have you tiptoed into any real estate, or do you own any real estate currently?
Yes, we do own real estate, and we've tiptoed into the real estate for investment. I will say neither of us like the managerial side of it. This was pre-COVID, where we had like renters with the property, and that was its own set of headaches. So we haven't done that so much. Yeah. He has been more interested because his background is also engineering. And so he's more interested from the house flipping kind of side of things too. And so that's something more that he's been interested in looking into more recently.
Very interesting. Yeah. And again, something I hear a lot too, the managerial aspect of it. And I was going to ask, well, is it the books or is it the people? But it's a people thing. So you were managing them yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
we didn't use a managerial service. Yeah.
And I went that journey myself, and I would only suggest that to maybe somebody who is younger, has the time and the energy to learn.
Right. Yeah.
To burn that kind of stuff to learn. Yeah. Right.
It's definitely more time consuming than, a person probably would think. So I agree that, definitely think about,
So we did that coming from fix and flip, right? I was getting to that story when I lost my train of thought. But we did that, and that enabled us to build up these lump sums of money when we flip houses, right? And then we started acquiring properties. Well, it's not that I didn't want to pay out the 10% management. I think similar, I have a background in construction management, engineering, architectural engineering, and I wanted to learn everything with my own 2 hands. And I wanted to learn the property management side. And looking back, it was good because I got to learn certain things, but you are right. There are certain parts of that where I agree with everybody who I talk with. Is like, I don't want to be a landlord. Well, I don't blame you, because I don't either. There's ways out there where we can work with the right team of property managers, have your proven systems in place, so you don't have to deal with that. right? So that is an opportunity. The difference between the fix and flip and the buy and hold is that kill and eat kind of mentality. Different taxation levels. We actually have different LLCs that we do those in. The fix and flip we do in the S Corp, and then the buy and holds we just have in a regular LLC. I absolutely love it. I could talk to you day in and day out of the value of these things, and the value of the ability to be a real estate professional and use passive losses to offset your active income if you could qualify for that tax wise. And then also the new short-term world. So the short-term rentals will decrease the number of hours required to be a real estate professional in order to offset your active income as well too. Great things, but the fix and flip is what we call kill and eat. It gives these lump sums of money that you pay capital gains on, right? Go ahead.
Now, what are you thinking about with the short-term rentals now? You think, well, just within the news lately, where certain places are, banning Airbnb and these different type of short-term things.
I have a couple different markets where we've got Airbnbs where it was always 30-day minimum stays, and I still double the income on those. And I have a different tenant that rents those places too. And it's just, we've definitely appreciated it, even in the areas that, so-called ban it, and these, one of them is a beach town in southwestern Michigan. And, we do the 30-night minimum stays, and it still works out for us. We've recently.
Are you typically working with more like corporate, how they have like people who move and they have to stay there?
That's a great question. In certain areas, in that one in Southwest Michigan, it's close to a nuclear plant. So we'll see people come in and out of that. But even in that one, even the smaller towns, and they always have medical professionals who are coming in and out. So you'll come in for 3. Now, I don't know what type of contracts these are. Maybe it's the corporate thing that we were talking about. I'm not sure.
Or even probably locum tenens, physicians who, go to places for like 2 to 4 weeks. But if the company though contracted with someone like you and say, okay, we're going to fill this for 3 months, even if it was different positions they were putting in there over that.
Yeah. So and a lot of our Airbnbs will see that 90-day kind of stay with either nurses or something to do with the medical profession. Yeah. And we're renovating one right now in Memphis, in your state there, where that's a complete short-term approach. So it's the average stay is 3 nights or less, in order for the client to benefit from those short-term tax advantages. Right. So we're excited to see that one. Those are funner too. So it's a different way. I tell everybody, when you pick your poison, right, when you pick your exit strategy, make sure it's something that the time aligns, your goals align, like the return, right? But then it matches your values as a person too. Right. And sometimes that Airbnb is just funner when you can put it in the acquisition equation, where I know I've got to spend $15,000 making this house look good with furniture and pictures. That's a whole different game that may be funner for some people.
Yeah, that's true.
So you said that rental that you guys had, would you consider moving into the rental scenario again after being, coming across that idea? Well, hey, I've had these renters, or my family had these rentals, and it's just the people were horrible. Would that ever keep you from moving forward in the rental world again?
Well, now you've got my wheel spinning on doing it more on a corporate level, because I hadn't thought about that. Even though I asked you the question, I hadn't thought about it. I was like, I wonder if, So I probably would just, contracting with companies who, had maybe like locums doctors or travel nurses or those kind of people, versus directly a rental, rental situation, kind of family rental at a time situation, because that was just a bit of a headache. But yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Sounds more interesting.
I've got one question here that I love asking. And if you could look back, here it comes, prepare yourself. If you could look back to say maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, pick this gap, and you could tell yourself something, like you would grab your shoulders and say, Shayla, listen to this. What would that be?
Ooh. I definitely would have started investing earlier, and most people you hear with the investments, I wish I had done this 10 years ago,
Yeah.
because, just knowing what your returns would be now,
Right.
that's for sure. And I think, we probably should all teach. I try to teach my kids, since I've been more into stocks lately, I've been teaching them a few things about stocks. But I think if we all taught our kids, younger, what investment is and what it looks like, even on a higher level, then probably they could start that 10 years, before most of us do as adults. But, that would probably definitely be one thing. And the other thing would likely be opening my would have been sooner too.
You say opening up your own practice sooner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
That's for the autonomy.
So there is a gentleman named Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know if you know who that is. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a great book.
I've heard of the book. Yeah.
So the way that whole thing came about is, in my perspective, is I believe he had the board game that he was trying to sell, and then he wrote the book around the board game. I can't remember how the two of them play off of each other. But what made me think of this is the board game and the kids version of the board game. We have it for our kids, and it's exactly that. It's the absolute basics of asset versus liability. And we talk about this a lot. A Millionaire Next Door. There's another book. The guy that bought the first copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is his name Tom. I forget his last name. And he also touches on this as well too. It's just the basics of asset versus liability. And there's a kid's version of that game, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think would be great.
Good to know. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And our kids have played it, and it's planting the seed. And I've talked about this a lot too, Shayla, where it's like, we can do so much with our children, but so much of what we do is they catch. We don't teach, they catch the way that we act, right? The way that we invest, the way that we see money, the way that we value relationships. And what they see there, what they're catching is this seed that we're planting. So this game gives us the ability to plant the seed in a fun way, explaining it's an asset versus liability.
Right. Cool. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely going to look that up.
And who's one person that, if just first person that pops into your mind, that you think the listeners should know about anything, whether it's about, plant-based diets, whether about investing, physician entrepreneurs, family mom, doctor mom, what is it? What's the first person that pops in your mind that you think people should know?
Well, the first person that popped in my mind, I'm sure probably most people should know unless they've been under a rock. I was thinking Oprah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So everybody should know Oprah. And then I'm someone everybody should know.
Yeah.
To know. And then beyond me, let's see. And I do like this question because it does spark some thought. I will say, within the plant-based world, Dr. Colin Campbell, if people have not heard of him, just because he's kind of the grandfather, if you will, of kind of the plant-based nutrition in terms of the science of it, and really presenting it more science-based and not just, the tree huggers going out to go eat more salad kind of thing. But really the science side.
Colin Campbell.
Colin.
Colin. Oh, Colin. Campbell. Cambell.
Mpbell.
Like the soup. Campbell's.
Like the soup.
Right? Nice. Yeah. Colin Campbell. Yeah. Very cool. The other one. So you had Oprah, Shayla, and Colin. I love that.
That's right.
That's awesome. Tom Burns is the gentleman that I was thinking about. He had purchased the first copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He is a physician, and he wrote the book, Why Doctors Don't Get Rich. Yeah.
I haven't even heard of that book. Okay.
So both that book and The Millionaire Next Door, we get this idea of assets versus liabilities. You get this first real paycheck, and then all of a sudden your expenses start rising to your income, and you're buying liabilities as opposed to assets. So it's just this idea of teaching or planting that seed early on with these games of it's the simplest of asset versus liability. Asset puts money in my pocket, liability takes money out of my pocket. Right. So I love that. And we talked a little bit with the Colin Campbell request, knowing him, but the second person on that list was Shayla Toombs-Withers. And with that comes this great ebook. And is it okay if we give the ebook out to the listeners? Is that cool?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So I have I'll put the link here in the description of the show. It's essenceofhealth.link/e-book. So it's I'm not a big Wisco Tango Foxtrot kind of communicator, so I don't know if anybody can listen to this and get it. Go to the description of this episode, and the free ebook is in there. And that ebook, it's a great short read, and it's a good start. And the other platform where we could reach you, Shayla, and this the kind of like the coach part, right? The physician health coach part is at eohcoaching.com.
That's correct.
Right. And okay, so that's where everybody can reach you. I'm going to dive into this. One last question I have for you is plant-based protein. What is the best source? And I need a lot of protein.
I love that question. And there's one other place I'm going to direct your audience to find me, and that is my own podcast. I do have a podcast too. It's called the Essence of Health. Essence of Health Tea Time Podcast. And so on that podcast, I discuss all things health, wellness, and plant-based nutrition. It can be found on Apple, Google, Spotify, all of the platforms there. And I actually have an episode just for you. It's all about plant-based protein. It's called Where Do You Get Your Protein?
I'll have to jump on that. Essence of Health Tea Time Podcast. Awesome. So just drop me a little bit of knowledge here before we go. What is the biggest, best source?
So the little known fact is that plants have protein within them. People, think, I have to eat a steak or chicken or whatever, but plants actually have protein. And some of your higher sources of protein are going to be from your oats, your beans, soybeans, even things like tofu. But if you're eating beans, oats, whole grains, you're going to get protein. But even things like broccoli, believe it or not, it has protein. So you can get plenty of protein just from a variety of plants. Always just remind people to eat the rainbow. You want the colors of the rainbow because that's going to ensure that you're getting enough nutrients and minerals by doing that.
Colors of the rainbow. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to check out more and check out that episode on the podcast as well, too. Essence of Health Tea Time Podcast. Shayla, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I've enjoyed our conversation. You've piqued my mind. I've hopefully piqued your mind a little bit.
You did.
You've piqued the listener's mind a little bit, too. So reach out to Shayla. And if you guys want to hear more of this type, or if you want to connect with Shayla through us, you're welcome to do that. You can reach us at info@physicianwealthsystems.com. The links, all the links will be in the description of the show. Thank you for everybody for listening today. Hopefully it's been a joy. Shayla, thank you for your time today. You've been an absolute joy. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Well, everybody have a great day or evening or morning, whatever it may be, and wherever you're at. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on the next show.